This demonstrates the wrong way to exit your stateroom, according to Carnival's brand ambassador John He, as he records footage of countless red rose petals strewn throughout an entire cabin. However, there's something he failed to mention. This chaos represents merely the beginning when it comes to guest actions that secretly make cruise ship attendants wish they could toss you into the ocean. I've collected genuine testimonials from former cruise employees who have finally revealed the truth about passenger behaviors that drive them completely mad. Here are the 13 actions that ex-cruise ship staff members claim you perform that transform their work into pure misery. These range from revolting room catastrophes to strange requests that get you banned by the complete crew. Just wait until you discover number 12. What occurred when one family transformed the dining area into their private battlefield? The images became internet sensations, and the reality exceeds your worst imagination. Are you prepared to discover whether you're unknowingly making your room attendant lose their mind? Let's begin. Point 1. Creating outlandish special demands that ignore natural laws. Ex-Princess Steward Maria reveals her most absurd guest request. Can you believe someone asked her to relocate the constellations so they would appear from their veranda? These identical guests had earlier insisted on having pet dolphins in their room and requested she stop the rainfall at their destination. Such impossible demands don't establish your importance. They cause staff members to doubt your mental state. Your attendant wastes valuable time explaining why they cannot manipulate the environment instead of genuinely assisting you with solvable issues. Information travels quickly and you transform into the guest everyone discusses in staff living areas. Easy solution. Recognize that attendants are people, not magicians. They can deliver linens and resolve room problems, but they cannot influence weather patterns or conjure sea creatures. However, unrealistic requests pale in comparison to misplaced frustration. Point 2. Directing all complaints to incorrect personnel. A previous Carnival attendant endured 20 minutes of shouting about lukewarm soup, despite working in housekeeping and never setting foot in the galley. The guest was indifferent, ranting about awful meals while their actual issue remained completely unaddressed. When you unleash grievances on inappropriate crew members, you upset individuals who cannot assist while your genuine concerns stay unresolved. Your attendant cannot alter weather conditions, repair internet connectivity, or manage restaurant cuisine, yet you're causing them distress over matters beyond their control. Here's the effective approach. Attendants manage room concerns. Guest relations handles vessel issues. Restaurant supervisors address food complaints. Direct complaints to appropriate personnel respectfully to achieve actual solutions. Regarding respect, let's address clothing requirement failures. Point 3. Dress code infractions that mortify everyone. Ex-Princess Steward James had to confront guests wearing soaked swimwear to the formal evening meal. When he clarified attire expectations, they erupted, shouting about spending significant money while creating puddles on the dining room flooring. These infractions place attendants in no-win situations, compelling them to supervise adults while other guests complain about disturbances. Your attendant doesn't create dress policies, but you're positioning them as the villain for upholding basic expectations. Easy resolution. Bring suitable clothing, verify dress requirements before dining, and acknowledge that certain venues maintain standards. Your attendant will appreciate avoiding awkward disputes. But clothing drama seems minor compared to elevator catastrophes. Point 4. Elevator behavior that horrifies witnesses. Ex-Disney Cruise employees recount nightmare scenarios. Guests changing outfits in elevators, conducting screaming telephone disputes, and one person who trimmed their toenails while others waited to enter. Another attendant discovered soiled diapers abandoned after a family couldn't reach their room. When you use elevators as private restrooms, crew members observe this and share the incident. You become the passenger story told across numerous voyages, influencing how every staff member interacts with you while ruining everyone else's experience. The solution is clear. Elevators are shared spaces, not your personal dressing area. Keep discussions quiet. Avoid performing grooming activities. And remember, other people can observe you. Now, let's examine room service catastrophes that make the crew consider resignation. Point 5. Unreasonable room service expectations. An ex-Norwegian attendant remembers guests calling at 3 a.m. requesting fresh sushi, celebration cake for 12 individuals, and that particular champagne from dinner, all delivered within 20 minutes. When informed this wasn't feasible, they shouted about their financial investment and threatened termination. These unrealistic expectations don't establish your importance. They label you as an entitled disaster that the crew deliberately avoids. Your attendant isn't a private chef. Room service operates with restricted hours and selections, and yelling gets you marked as a problematic guest. What succeeds? Review room service options and operating times. Order reasonable items with realistic time frames. And treat personnel like human beings. Politeness earns superior service compared to demands. Quick reminder, if this prevents crew's embarrassment, click that like button to avoid these errors. But room service drama seems insignificant compared to cleaning schedule catastrophes. Point 6. Complete disregard for cleaning timetables. Ex-celebrity attendants describe guests who return during cleaning periods, track through wet surfaces with dirty footwear, and recline on recently prepared beds while housekeeping operates. Some view cleaning time as entertainment, observing and critiquing attendant methods. When you interrupt cleaning schedules, you force attendants to begin work again and fall behind on their complete assignment. Your interference means other guests receive hurried service while attendants struggle maintaining quality standards across 20 rooms. Simple solution: honor room being cleaned notifications. Schedule around cleaning periods. If you must enter, request permission and remain clear of the work area. Your attendant completes tasks faster without navigating around you. Speaking of staying clear, let's discuss mind-reading assumptions. Point 7. Assuming attendants possess telepathic abilities. Ex-Princess employees share accounts of guests expecting them to mysteriously understand preferences. Precisely 3 ice cubes, linens arranged in triangular shapes, and candy-free evening service. When attendants guess incorrectly, guests act personally insulted by inadequate service. Your attendant lacks psychic powers and maintains 15 to 20 different rooms daily with various occupants and preferences. Expecting them to instinctively understand your unspoken desires makes you the guest they fear visiting while establishing unrealistic service expectations. Easy resolution: express preferences clearly on arrival day. Document them if complex. And remember, attendants balance dozens of different requests. Direct communication surpasses silent assumptions consistently. But telepathy expectations seem trivial compared to authority trip disasters. Point 8. Treating attendants as personal staff. Ex-Royal Caribbean employees describe passengers snapping digits for attention, demanding attendants abandon everything for trivial requests, and using expressions like, "You serve me." One attendant was commanded to wait in corridors awaiting instructions while guests determined their desires. This master-servant mentality doesn't demonstrate your significance. It makes you appear terrible while crew deliberately avoids you. Word circulates through personnel networks and soon you're recognized shipwide as the guest who treats people like refuse. Truth check: use please and thank you. Treat attendants as hospitality experts and remember they assist hundreds of passengers. Respect achieves superior service compared to demands. Now let's examine timing catastrophes that destroy everyone's schedule. Point 9. Restroom disasters that traumatize personnel. A previous Carnival attendant opened a bathroom discovering tissue paper blanketing every surface, linens saturated with unidentified liquids, and what she characterized as a crime scene surrounding the toilet. The odor required hazmat-level cleaning materials and maintenance support. When you generate restroom disasters, you're not merely being disgusting, you're establishing health risks that postpone complete cleaning schedules. Your attendant invests 45 minutes instead of 15 in your room, meaning every other guest receives rushed service. The solution is embarrassingly fundamental. Treat the restroom like it belongs to someone you value. Address obvious spills. Don't flood surfaces. And remember, someone must clean your catastrophe. But restrooms represent just the beginning of cabin disasters. Point 10. Abandoning your cabin resembles a disaster zone. Remember those Valentine flower petals from the opening? That's genuine footage from Carnival brand ambassador John, he displaying hundreds of red artificial petals blanketing every square inch of a stateroom surface. But here's what he didn't reveal: the champagne marks embedded in the carpeting, chocolate fingerprints on glass surfaces, and what seemed to be sparkles combined with biological fluids, establishing a contamination scenario requiring specialized cleaning procedures. Ex-Carnival attendants who managed similar romantic catastrophes explain these messes don't simply require extended cleaning time. They completely demolish the cleaning timeline for a complete floor. Maria, an ex-celebrity housekeeper, describes discovering rooms resembling food battle zones, then appearing redecorated with biological materials. She's referencing passengers who left pizza embedded in carpets, wine splashed on ceilings, and belongings distributed so chaotically that housekeeping required 45 minutes instead of their designated 15 minutes per room. But here's the genuine problem. These catastrophes don't occur independently. When you abandon your cabin looking like a disaster site, information spreads through close-knit crew living areas faster than a stomach virus epidemic. Your attendant services approximately 20 rooms within a 4-hour period. Your revolting mess means every other guest on their schedule receives hurried, reduced-quality service while you get branded as that disrespectful passenger across the complete vessel. The housekeeping manager receives complaints. Other sections learn about the problem guest. Suddenly, your reputation arrives before you at every restaurant, lounge, and service location aboard. The 60-second solution is almost offensively simple. Invest 1 minute before departing your cabin, placing belongings in storage areas or luggage, and gathering your used linens in an organized pile on the restroom floor. That's all. Your attendant will recall this fundamental courtesy throughout the voyage, and content attendants who aren't anxious about your room will exceed expectations with service, towel sculptures, and those small touches that make cruises memorable. Honor their time, and they'll make your vacation remarkable for positive reasons. Regarding linens, let's examine hoarding patterns that generate supply problems. Point 11. Stockpiling towels like disaster preparation. Ex-Royal Caribbean housekeeper Janet believed she'd witnessed everything until opening cabin 8462 and discovering what resembled a towel citadel. 23 towels were concealed throughout the space, under furniture, wound around chair supports, hanging over the television, and even converted into improvised balcony curtains. The guests had been methodically gathering fresh towels daily throughout a week-long voyage without permitting housekeeping to collect soiled ones, establishing a damp, moldy environment that reeked like exercise facility lockers. However, the towel stockpiling issue extends far beyond one unusual cabin. When guests hoard towels like preparing for civilization's end, it generates a destructive chain reaction throughout complete ship operations. Other rooms begin experiencing fresh towel shortages, compelling housekeeping supervisors to access emergency reserves intended for new passenger boarding. Attendants must make numerous additional trips to various supply areas, adding 30 to 40 minutes to their already crowded cleaning schedules. The laundry section becomes overwhelmed with enormous towel deposits that disrupt their precisely timed washing cycles. Sarah, an ex-Norwegian attendant, clarifies the genuine frustration. You discover guests with 15 pool linens, 10 restroom towels, and 8 washcloths stuffed everywhere, while the neighboring cabin contacts guest services complaining they lack clean towels for washing. We're constantly circulating trying to redistribute linens because certain passengers believe we'll exhaust terry cloth supplies in the middle of the ocean. The psychology underlying towel hoarding demonstrates fundamental misunderstanding of cruise systems. Thousands of towels exist aboard, industrial washing facilities operate continuously, and systems ensure every passenger receives necessities. You're not conserving money, demonstrating intelligence, or preparing for emergencies. You're taking from other guests while creating logistical nightmares for your attendant. The absurdly simple answer: stack your genuinely soiled towels on the restroom floor in one organized pile, and retain only what you reasonably require for your group size. Your attendant will sincerely value your thoughtfulness, and you won't become the cabin they criticize during break time in the crew dining area. But towel stockpiling appears almost sensible compared to buffet catastrophes. Point 12. Using the buffet as your personal waste facility. Marcus, a previous Carnival dining assistant, recalls the scenario that continues haunting his sleep. A family of 6 had captured a complete buffet section, converting 4 tables into what resembled hurricane damage at a food court. Scrambled eggs were spread across numerous plates and table surfaces. Bacon fat had been used for apparent finger artwork on seating. Pancake syrup created adhesive streams linking all the destruction together. The adults argued loudly while children hurled fruit at each other. The complete disaster area expanded as they continued collecting just one additional food plate they clearly had no intention of consuming. However, the genuine horror wasn't the visual catastrophe, it was the privileged mindset accompanying it. When Marcus approached to clean the neighboring table, the father actually criticized him for lingering and instructed him to return later, when we're finished. They had effectively seized a quarter of the buffet seating space as their private dining area, including food battles and zero regard for the 100 other passengers attempting to enjoy meals. Other guests photographed the scene for social media posts about cruise standards today, while families with small children actually departed the area because the mess was so disgusting. This buffet conduct doesn't merely irritate other passengers. It makes complete dining personnel secretly despise you while establishing genuine health violations that could create serious maritime authority problems. Every minute dining assistants invest in sanitizing your disaster area prevents them from maintaining actual buffet stations, replenishing food, or assisting other guests. The cleaning crew must implement specialized sanitization procedures for contamination-level messes, meaning delayed service for everyone while you become the passenger story shared across multiple cruise contracts. Ex-Princess Dining Supervisor Linda clarifies the cascading effect. When passengers use the buffet as their personal kitchen explosion, it compels us to remove seating and tables from operation for thorough cleaning. That creates reduced seating during busy periods, extended wait times for families, and irritated guests who blame us for inadequate planning when it's actually about inconsiderate passengers ruining the dining experience for everyone. The solution is so embarrassingly straightforward, it's almost insulting to articulate. Clean after yourself as you would at home. Use napkins for accidents. Don't pile food excessively on plates you cannot finish. And please don't abandon partially consumed seafood across 3 separate tables like territorial marking. Now, let's examine the absolutely worst passenger conduct that makes crew members reconsider their career choices. Point 13. Tipping confusion that ruins professional relationships. Elena, a previous celebrity attendant with 8 years cruise experience, will always remember the passengers in cabin 7234, who gave her a wrinkled $5 bill on boarding day while declaring, "This covers taking exceptional care of us this week." What ensued was 7 days of complete torture that perfectly demonstrates why tipping confusion establishes toxic authority dynamics that backfire dramatically on passengers who believe they're being shrewd. The couple instantly began treating Elena as if they had bought her services for $5. They insisted she provide private laundry service, washing, drying, folding, and delivering their garments like a personal assistant. They summoned her to their room at 2 a.m. requesting room service deliveries outside her responsibilities, fresh linens every 4 hours, and daily veranda furniture repositioning because they disliked the standard arrangement. When Elena courteously explained these requests exceeded her housekeeping responsibilities and directed them to proper departments, they became aggressive. "We already paid you," they yelled. "You serve us now." They reported to her supervisor that she was uncooperative and sluggish, demanded her replacement, and actually tried removing her from the vessel's automatic gratuity system because she didn't merit tips for refusing services never included in her job requirements. The situation escalated to guest relations, human resources, and ultimately the hotel director, establishing documentation that followed Elena throughout her remaining contract. But here's the harsh reality that passengers playing tipping games never grasp. Strange tipping tactics don't make you appear generous or clever. They identify you as someone who fundamentally miscomprehends cruise operations while establishing uncomfortable authority dynamics that make crew members deliberately avoid your cabin. Elena clarifies, "Regular passengers received superior service because they weren't attempting to manipulate me with money. Those who tipped strangely always expected impossible things, then blamed me when reality didn't align with their expectations." Ex-Royal Caribbean attendant David shares a comparable story about passengers who attempted tipping varying amounts based on daily performance evaluations, not understanding this established impossible working conditions where he had to predict what arbitrary criteria would earn decent compensation each day. Your attendant prefers predictable fair compensation through automatic gratuity systems rather than navigating your confusing tip games that transform professional service into uncomfortable authority battles. Allow automatic gratuities to handle daily service equitably. Reserve cash tips for truly exceptional moments at cruise conclusion. And remember that treating people with fundamental human respect achieves infinitely superior service compared to attempting control through money. Thanks for viewing. Now you understand the 13 actions that make cruise attendants secretly despise passengers and how to prevent becoming a problematic guest. Write "smooth sailing" in comments if you reach the conclusion and share which behavior surprised you most. Until next time, cruise intelligently and cruise responsibly.